All right, hello. My name is David. I'm joined with
Courtney.
And this is the post-race podcast. This is episode 13.
Yes.
Yep. We actually know the number this time. And this is a doozy, man. This is a big one. This is Tiger Claw. So this was the race that it actually happened yesterday, May 4th. And this was put on by the Ginger Runner. And yeah, this is one that's been highly anticipated. And, it was one of those that could have went either way. It could have been a complete disaster. This was the first time they put on a race. This is the first time this race was put on. So a lot of things at play, and it's a very popular area, very, very used, well-used trails. It was a Saturday, so yeah, it could have went a lot of different ways. But that being said, overall, I liked it a lot, and we're going to dive into all that. Before we do, though, I will be playing some video along with this. If you're watching it on YouTube, you'll see that in a minute. And if you're not, then, well, sorry. It's trails from the Issy Alps on Tiger Mountain, so you're not missing out on too much, but it is a nice little accompaniment to the podcast. So if you can check it out, I would say do so. What we're going to do before we show that, though, is talk a little bit about what we got from the race. So we're going to show that real quick. So, man, there's a lot to say about the race. And so I guess
why don't we just start out with like the day before, or like maybe leading up to it?
Well, I wanted to show the video.
Oh.
And if I'm showing the video, then it makes it awkward to actually show stuff on the camera, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, let's just do the standard stuff. So who knows when the video will start playing, but it will start playing eventually. So yeah, we'll just start with our typical stuff. So like I mentioned, this race, which is roughly 22 miles with 8,200 feet of climbing throughout that, took place on May 4th, again on Tiger Mountain in Washington. And basically
it was really cool too, because you could choose which route you wanted. Like, it wasn't chosen for you. So there was 3 big loops, and you could choose which loop you wanted to do. There was the white loop, yellow, or the pink. And the white loop had 5.5 miles of up, which was it had 5.5 miles total, 2 miles of up, 2,500 feet for the up. And then the yellow loop was 8.5 miles total, 5 miles of up with 3,000 feet of the up. And the pink was 6 miles total, and then 3 miles up, 2,500 feet of the up. So they were all pretty brutal.
Oh yeah, people, when you're on course, people were talking like, yeah, I'm saving the easy one, quote unquote, for last or whatever, which was kind of regarded as the pink one, as the easy loop. But I'm sure everyone would agree, like, it doesn't really matter. Like,
yeah,
they were all hard.
Like, all.
They all were hard in their own way. So, it was definitely a unique kind of event. I haven't done anything like that where you can kind of choose your own adventure. What made that possible was the use of the boopers.
The boopers.
Which was talked about incessantly all day. And amazingly enough, apparently nobody lost one. I would have bet money that somebody was going to lose it.
If you're wondering what a booper is, that's so basically it's
just this little like microchip device that you insert into these key spots throughout the race that basically just track where you went and at what time.
Just to make sure you don't get lost.
Yeah, and apparently these are popular in orienteering races, but I haven't ever done one of those, so I'm not too sure. But I think Ethan mentioned that at some point or another.
Yeah.
So anyways, doing this chronologically, we left on Friday.
Well, do you want to do that at the very end? Or do you want to do that now?
We can start off. Yeah, we did want to do a new segment. We could save this for the end or the beginning, but I'm guessing it probably makes more sense to do it at the beginning because a lot of people are probably not going to listen to the whole thing. So we do have a new segment that we're going to add in from now on, and it is essentially rating certain aspects of each race, 1 out of 10 or 0 out of 10. And we kind of have different categories that we're going to go through. So, if you're looking to do this race in the future and you're listening to this will hopefully give you a little bit better idea of at least our own personal thoughts on, what was cool about the race, what wasn't. I mean, this one is going to be probably skewed because, to be honest, this is probably one of the best races I've ever done.
Same.
So, and we don't mean it to be, just like a butt-kissing episode, but hey,
yeah, it was great.
I think this did kind of set a new standard for racing, at least in the Pacific Northwest. So, yeah, let's go through it.
Okay, so we first on rating the race, we have value.
Okay, so this would be, the cost of the race versus what you get out of it. And of course, that can be somewhat subjective because, maybe your own personal experience is enough, like you'd pay any amount of money to have whatever. But this is more meant just for like, in terms of what you put in financially and what you got out physically. So this race, I mean, it's the best value I've ever gotten. I'll say that. So the race cost $90. And what you got for $90 is insane. Which, not to say that $90 is nothing, because $90 is a lot of money. But in terms of, the cost for races, you're hard pressed these days to find anything for, less than $100, let alone something that includes, like a t-shirt and whatever. Yeah. I mean, you might be able to find a half marathon, like the Klickitat Trail half marathon is a good example of this, where I think it's like
40
maybe even
50.
under 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get, a really poorly made little medal and stuff. Not that I don't appreciate it. I mean, I've got a couple of them hanging up back there and it's a fine event, but I mean, for $90, I just can't believe that they were able to put on what they were able to put on. I'm sure a lot of it had to do with their connections within the running community, via their whole YouTube channel and all the shows and stuff they do and their work within it. But yeah, it made for a very special event. And for that price tag, it was crazy. So I'd say 10 out of 10 for value.
I agree with that. 10 out of 10 for value. You got a medal, a Territory Run Code t-shirt, which those are normally like $30 or so. Yeah, it would 10 out of 10 for me as well. Okay, aid stations.
So aid station, this would be, like the variety of stuff they have at the aid stations, how well they're stocked.
How nice the people are.
Kind of.
That makes a big impact for me.
Well, that's kind of the next one. So.
Oh, well, that's true.
So yeah, this is more just like the quality of the aid stations themselves and how they're spaced out, And so again, I would say this is probably maybe a 9 out of 10. I'll give them a 9. Well, it's tough because
I don't know. I'd say 10 because for me.
Well, the thing is, so there's no hot food, but for a race this short, it's like, do you really need hot food? But I mean,
they gave out Spring Energy. Those are expensive.
And full
Red Bulls with you could have crazy. Coke. I mean, they had pretty much anything, pickles, like whatever you wanted, you could have. Besides like hot food, but I mean they had a very good variety of things.
Yeah, and again, I mean hot food in a race this short would be kind of silly, but I mean maybe leaving some room for improvement. We can't give them 10s on everything. True. Well, I guess we could.
They also the aid stations were separated pretty well too, because it was at the top of every climb you had an aid station, and then at the bottom of the descent you had an aid station. So it was nice because
so there's 2 aid stations total, but you hit them every time, you hit them on it every loop basically.
Yeah. So that was
you'd
nice.
hit them 6 times?
Yeah. 5. No, I don't know, whatever.
Top
5
3
or
times,
6.
bottom 2 times. Yeah.
5. So yeah, I'd say 10. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'll go 9.5 or 9. Just because.
All right, so volunteers.
Volunteers, yeah, I'd say this is one that I will probably always give high because it's just very rare for me to run into bad volunteers. But yeah, I'd say again like 9 out of 10. Like
yeah, I'd say the only time I've ever come across anyone or any volunteers that have been nicer than this was at David's 100-miler. And I think that was just like the atmosphere there where you have to be like super positive. But I mean, everybody there, like the whole top aid station was so helpful with me. The bottom aid station was great. I didn't have all the volunteers were wonderful. So 9 for me as well.
Oh, not going with the 10, huh?
Well, I don't know. There was just a weird situation for me where I would say 9.
Okay.
Okay, so parking or getting there?
Yeah, so this is, I guess this would be like accessibility. So in general, you know, when you're looking to go out to one of these races, especially if it's just like very limited parking at the trailhead and you maybe have to walk a long time. So this is kind of that category, which can add a lot of stress to your day.
Oh, yeah.
When you have to like think like, well, shit, do I got to get there, you know, like an hour early just to get a parking spot? And then am I going to have to walk a mile? And then I've already got like a mile on my legs, or do I just count that as a warm up, or, you know, whatever. And this one is a little different for us because we got to carpool because we both ran the race.
If you didn't carpool, oof.
If you didn't carpool, that would be a little bit worse, I would think, because parking was somewhat limited, and
they did tell you to carpool.
Yeah, they were very adamant about the carpooling being good. And so for us, we pretty much just drove literally straight to the start finish. Yeah. We did pick somebody up along our way because they had asked for a ride.
I think there was only like 18 or like 20 cars that carpooled out of the 200.
Yeah, there was not many up there. Well, you also had to have a Discover Pass, so, you know, that adds to it as well. But, you know, since we live here, obviously we have Discover Passes. So, yeah, I mean, as a whole, I'd probably say, you know, like accessibility was like a 6 or a 7.
I would agree with that.
Just because, and that's not really in the control.
Yeah, I was going to say there's so many people that do these trails. I mean, not obviously not at the time that we went. We got there at like 5:30 or something in the morning, but still it's just a very popular area. And so
yeah, it
would make sense to.
But this is a race, you know, you probably would want to get there a bit early just to find parking.
Yeah, for sure.
But also definitely carpool. If you can, do it.
So probably a 6 for me as well. All right. So what about like course trails, or like the difficulty of the trail?
Yeah, and so this would just be the terrain, the course, like the way it's laid out, the way, basically the way the race is structured. And for me, I mean, just because it's so unique, like I said, that option to go whichever loop you want to do, I'd say a 9 out of 10, because I don't like running on Forest Service roads. So if there were none of those, then maybe I would give this a 10. And, you know, again, no fault to the race itself, but just be aware you will be running on some roads for a very limited amount of time, you know, logging roads or whatever. It's so unique. Like I don't know of any race that has ever done that. Maybe it's been done other places, but I haven't heard of it. So that just is really cool, and it made it super easy to talk to other people, because, you know, you're going and you're like, you know, in the middle of your loop, and you're just grinding away with somebody else, and you're like, oh, you know, which one did you choose first? What loop are you on? Like, are you on your second or your third or whatever? And it just made for easy conversation with other runners, and it just was a really cool thing. And, you know, mentally, I think it made it a little bit easier for me, because it was like, you get to the top, you know, and you just spent whatever the last, you know, 3 or whatever miles just going basically straight up the whole time. And so your legs are just like so done with climbing. And then you just have like 3 miles or whatever where you're just going straight down. So it's like you have this nice mix, or this nice variation where it's like you're just basically swapping between like burning out your calves and burning out your quads. Like, I don't know. It was good. It was a good mix. I really enjoyed it. And the format was super cool. So. And it was marked very well.
I think I would say the same. I was going to say at the very end. So the marking,
which I should say, yeah, that also includes the marking.
Yeah, the marking was wonderful. I get lost really easy on trails, and I don't know how anyone would have ever gotten lost on this trail.
Some people did.
Oh, man. It was very well marked. Any intersection you could have gone the wrong way, they made sure to have big X's that said, don't go this way. They had their color of the loop that you were on very... It was, I think, it maybe like 1/10 of every mile or something. Like, it was, you could see them like pretty well. And a lot of it was so up that, like, if you just looked up, you could see the color in front of you. So it was very well marked. And the course itself was just really unique. I did like how you could choose whichever loop you wanted. I didn't like the logging, or whatever they're called. What are the forest roads?
Yeah, which the yellow loop had a bit of that. And then there was like, it's not really a logging road, but I mean, it might as well be on the descent. There's like a couple sections where it's just like rocky, crappy trail, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but I think I would give the course, I think I would say a 7.
Whoa.
It was just really hard. It was just a lot of up, but I knew that going into it. But it was really pretty and stuff. I just I don't know, actually maybe a little higher because the marking was good. I just didn't really like the.
It is it is important to know, like, there isn't really a big payoff. Like when you get to the top of the peaks or anything
Yeah.
like that.
You don't
I
get
mean,
like
there
any
is-
crazy sights. There's one on
There's
the
one.
yellow,
Yeah.
which
you
I
can
did
see
a video
Rainier, I
of
think.
on my Instagram. But other than that, and you're not done at that point either. So it's like you kind of get a high, but then you're like, well, still I have to climb. So it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, yeah, not having a payoff is a little bit of a bummer out there. I'm surprised the trails are so popular, just
Yeah.
because it's like,
Well, it was funny. I was running and there was these two guys and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing out here?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm running a race." And they're like, "How far is it?" And I said, 22 miles. And they said, "Is there views? Like, why are you doing that?" And I was like, kind of. But yeah, so pre and post race activities.
whew.
Lots.
Yeah, lots. Again, I would say, I mean, a 10, really. I'd probably say a
Yeah,
10.
this is the best race I have ever done with, I mean, pre and post activities was insane. They gave away so much stuff and they were just so accommodating. And I mean, it was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and again, so this would be, pre, meaning like the night before, whether they have like a pasta feed or whatever, like a spaghetti feed or whatever, a lot of races do that. And then post race, like Rain Shadow Running will have their wood fired pizza, which is super good during their events. And so, things like that. And again, this being their first event, I mean, they came out swinging. They had like this awesome raffle. And I think Sufferfest Beer sponsored some portions of this where they had a bunch of beer and coffee and donuts and stuff the Friday before during the bib pickup. And the bib pickup was done in this really nice hotel, the Springfield Suites, I think is what or Spring Hill Suites.
It smelled really good too.
Yeah, which is where we ended up staying. And so, yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, a really cool raffle where we won. I won.
Oh yeah, David won a Nathan vest.
Yep, we got let me see if I can pull it up here. What looks to be a girl's Nathan vest. So that's for Courtney. Which, I mean, I don't know if she'll use it, but
Maybe.
we'll see. And if not, we may give it to a friend. But still, it's like whatever, $100 value or something like that. And they
Which
gave out
is
a
the
bunch
value
of
of
stuff
the
like
race.
that. Yeah, pretty much. So I mean, that alone is crazy. And they gave out a ton of prizes. I mean, there must have been like, I don't know what, like 30
yeah.
or something. Like, so
They did like 3 different raffle times, so 10, probably about like 10 prizes each raffle. So
yeah, so that was awesome. I mean, yeah, it just felt like, if you sign up for this race, especially with the amount of people that are in it, which I believe was capped at 200, and the amount of stuff they were giving out and the prizes, it seemed like, man, you had a good chance of winning something, whether it's, during the race or whatever So yeah, it's just cool.
it made you feel really welcome too, which was nice.
And it's like, I mean, it's going to sound a little stupid, but, we are in this little like niche community and there are like little mini celebrities within this community, like you got because there were some elites, out here like David Laney who ended up winning.
And he asked me if I was a volunteer. He talked to me.
Yeah. And so he was like helping out. I think he was doing some of the, the pre-race, the bib pickup stuff. He was like helping out with that. And so we got to see him. And then,
I mean, Ethan and
oh
Kim.
yeah, obviously Ethan and Kim, which, I'm sure pretty much everyone who ran this race, those people have probably impacted everyone in some form or another. I mean, I think it's just cool because, yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. Amelia Boone was out there. I don't know if you heard that. Like, there was a bunch of people
I did not know that.
that were, pseudo famous, like, ultra runners that were just out and about. And I mean, it's embarrassing because a lot of them, I don't know their actual names. I only know their Instagram tags, but, or, I know like their names on paper, but it's like pronouncing them or whatever. But anyways, yeah, it was cool to see a lot of those people out there. And I mean, that was another just kind of cool thing where they were all, and a lot of them were helping out, even though they were running the race.
Yeah.
And then you had other ones like, Caitlin Gerben and stuff. And they were helping mark the course, and then they were cheering and stuff. So all that was super cool. And I liked it a lot. So post race, cool. 10 out of 10 for me.
10 out of 10 for me as well. I mean, they gave out donuts and coffee before the race, which was like insane. And then, like all the beer you wanted the day before. It was cool. And then they had a food truck.
Oh, yeah, post race. They had a freaking food truck.
Yeah. I didn't get to have
whatever
any.
Was a halal or like a falafel truck.
Took me too long. But
that would be one thing is the truck left a little early.
I never get to have any of the treats after a race though, because I'm always like back of the pack. So.
But what was cool is the truck. Anyone who ran the race got a little ticket, and so they got free double dipped fries or whatever.
Did you try them?
Yeah.
Were they good?
No.
Oh.
I didn't. I don't like. It tasted like maybe rosemary was the spice or whatever, the herb that. I don't know. It tasted. I didn't like them. You probably would have liked them, but yeah. And then it came with some sauce that also I'm not a fan of. But it's cool that they provided them.
Yeah, that is cool. Okay, last thing on the list is swag.
Swag 10 out of 10. I mean
10 out of 10 for sure. Those
already
medals
love Territory
alone,
Runco.
I mean, I would like if they just did the medal alone. Like that medal is so cool.
Yeah, the medal, which again for the YouTube audience, you can see. Hopefully that's maybe blurry. Don't know, but basically they're these custom-made wooden medals put on by or made by I guess Elevation Culture is what it says on the back.
Yeah, and then you got...
they are just super cool looking.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite medals for sure. But then you got a Territory Runco shirt, I mean, with the same logo on it, both wearing ours. And then, I mean, all of the, like, free prizes.
Custom tub of Squirrel's Nut Butter.
Oh, yeah.
That had the tiger claw.
Yeah, a couple of cool stickers. Iron-on patch with the cool logo on it. I mean, a lot of cool stuff.
And the bag itself.
And, it all came in a little bag. Super cool. And then all the raffles, like, if you won any prizes there, that was free. And then also, what else? I was going to say something else. Oh yeah. If you were the first to the top of any hill, you got $100. So there's 3 hills. So there's 3 chances to win $100. If you got first place, you won $500. Second place, $300. Third place, either like $100 or $200. So I mean, cash prizes, like that's insane.
Which didn't matter to us because we weren't going to get any of that.
Well, no, but still, it's really cool. And then they were also giving out like gift cards. I mean, just a lot of really like this race was wonderful.
Yes, so swag, like I said, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, for sure, 10 out of 10.
All right, so let's just go back through it quickly now. So value. I'd say 10 out of 10.
Agreed.
Aid stations, 9 out of 10.
I think I would say 10.
All right. Volunteers, I'd say 9 out of 10.
I agree. 9.
The accessibility of the race, I'd say
6.
Yeah, I'd say like a 7. 7 out of 10. That may be different than what I said the first time, but that's what I'm going with now.
Course trails, I would say 7 or 8.
I'd say 9. 9 out of 10.
Pre and post race activities.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 for sure. And then swag, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
They got a very high ranking.
Yeah, so overall, I guess the average of that, I'm not doing the math perfectly right, but it's probably like a 9. We'll say overall for the race, 9 out of 10.
Yeah, for sure. And it was only $90. I mean, for all of this stuff, $90. I mean, that's insane. We've paid a lot more than that for races, and
oh hell yeah. That doesn't include like a shirt or anything. So all right, that's the new segment over and done with. We'll try to do that for all the races moving forward, unless you guys just hate it and then tell us and we won't do it, or maybe we will. I don't know. So anyways, on to the actual race.
Do you want to start the day before and then move in?
Yeah, so like we said, pre-race stuff, we went to do the big pickup bib pickup at Spring Hill Suites
Which
up
they
in
really
Issaquah, Washington.
They really recommended you go the day before just because the race started so early, and they wanted to make sure that you knew basically how to use your booper and that you had everything you needed just so that it wasn't super stressful the day of. With an early race start, that can be really stressful. So, yeah, so we went the day before, picked up all our gear.
Yeah, and like I said, that's when we won the Nathan Vest. And so, yeah, hopefully this is the point where I'll start playing some video of the race. So, yeah, we stayed in the Spring Hill Suites, and that was super nice. The room was really nice. Nice place to be. I don't remember how much it cost because I signed up for it, the room, like a while ago, but I know it wasn't cheap.
It was,
think it was
really
like $150
nice.
or
Yeah, that was
something.
a really nice room, and it smelled
Cost more than the
so
race.
good.
But yeah, it was nice. And we
Bed
tried
was
to go to
comfortable.
bed pretty early because the race did start at 6 a.m.
So I think we
that
woke
was
up
rough.
at 4:45.
Yeah, luckily that hotel is only like 9 minutes away from the trailhead.
Yeah.
So it's really close, which does make it nice for accessibility. Probably should have taken that into consideration when we were doing the rating. But anyways, yeah. What else? I guess that's it. So race morning, woke up, got ready. I actually, again, you think I would have learned my lesson from 2 weeks ago, but I dressed way too warm. I wore black leggings again, like the full-blown Euro.
I tried to tell him that it was going to be hot.
Yeah.
And then he told me it was a mountain and that it was going to get colder at the top. And I said, it's not.
Well, it is and it does, but it didn't matter. It
You're
was
sweaty.
still too hot. Yeah, I was covered in sweat the entire day. It was a mistake. That's the last time I wear leggings. Like, not only is it somewhat embarrassing to wear them anyways, but yeah, it's too hot now. So I'm back to shorten it like I should be. So yeah, I dressed wrong. And I don't know. As far as my gear goes, I was using my a newer Solomon vest, the Advanced Skin 5 liter, the newest one that I have cut out the back. Basically ruined a new whatever $120 vest right off the bat, but I like it a lot. So and it did great. I love that vest. It's awesome. And that's pretty much it. No poles. Poles
We
were
weren't
not allowed.
Yeah, which I was kind of bummed about. But in the end, it didn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't think Courtney knew you couldn't bring poles
I did
until
not know that. And
like
I was
2
like,
days
oh
before the race.
my God. Like, how am I going to do this? So no poles. I think I wore pretty much the same thing I've been wearing, but I wore a pair of some like compression shorts, Nike compression shorts. And then I did have a pullover sweater, the Brooks sweater, but I also had a, what was it? Prana? Whatever, some white t-shirt. And in the end, that white t-shirt did not do me well. It was, I was coated in sweat as well, and it was getting really heavy. So I probably should have changed it because we did have a drop bag. But yeah, so I ended up wearing that, my Superior 4s. And then I had a Solomon pack as well. One of David's older ones. I don't know the style of it, but yeah, that's what I had. And yeah, it was great. It was definitely hot. I think it was 50 in the morning, but it actually didn't feel like super cold. It felt pretty nice. And then it started to get sunny out. And if you're on the climbs and there's sun and there's any break in the trees, it is hot. So yeah, it was definitely
Yeah, I think I got some sunburn on my ear actually.
Yeah, my lips were like burning pretty bad, and I wasn't sure why. And I think it's probably because they got sunburned. So yeah, it did get pretty hot there around, I think it was like noon or 1. So yeah, that's what I wore. And then do you want to talk about which loop we decided to go with?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, let's just jump into the race.
So there was 3 different loops you could do, which we described earlier. There was the white, the pink, or the yellow. And then, like I said earlier, the white was 5.5 miles. The pink was 6 miles, and the yellow was 8.5. And all of them had elevation right off the bat.
That's the full loop. So that's the yellow plus blue, red plus blue.
Oh, yes.
pink
I'm sorry.
plus blue.
Yes. Yes. So if you were just like saying you were going to do the white loop, just that section of the white would have been just 2 miles up, 2,500 feet of gain. Like that's what that meant. And then you would run down the blue, which was 3 miles down.
Yeah. So the descents for all the loops is
or
the
the
same.
exact same. Yeah. Yeah. So I decided I would go with the white first, then the yellow, and then the pink. What did you decide?
I did the same thing. Although
Yeah.
I wasn't going to. Like originally I was going to do yellow first and then white and then pink. And then in the morning, Ethan was like asking, with a show of hands, who's going to do, yellow first. And like everyone put their hands up and I'm like, damn it. I thought, in my mind, I was thinking everyone was going to want to do white first because it was, supposedly the most difficult.
Which nobody really did. There was like no hands for white.
I'd say it probably ended up being, from what I heard, and who knows, hopefully they release some statistics about who chose what, because that'd be kind of interesting to see. But just off the top of my head, I would guess probably 60% of people did yellow first, and then 30% did
either
did
pink
white,
or white.
And then 10% did pink.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
That would make sense. But yeah, so I started with the white. And they started out too with just like a 1 mile loop just to kind of get you warmed up and separated as best you would be. Because there was about 200 runners. So they started with a 1 mile loop. And then from that 1 mile, that's where you got to choose whichever color you wanted to do. And so I chose white. And there wasn't anybody around me pretty much the whole race. I started at the back of the pack, and I chose white because it was hardest, and I know I'm not a strong climber. So I was like, well, if I can get white out of the way, then hopefully I'll feel confident that I've got the hardest one out of the way and feel confident in being able to do the other two in the time that it took before the cutoff. And so I started white, and I think just like the first like 0.75 miles, it was hard. Like it got really hard. And after that, it just was like a straight up climb the whole way. And I remember thinking there was a couple times where I started to like not black out, but kind of just like my eyes would like I guess I just was like dizzy or something. And it wasn't like nutrition problems. Like we had just started the race. I think it was just like the amount of climbing and possibly my heart rate. I don't know, but it was a little scary. And I mean, like I said, there was no one around. So I was walking. I mean, I wasn't walking fast. Like I was going like a moderate speed, or probably slow for most. But yeah, that loop was insane. It wasn't really hot yet, so I wasn't like sweating a ton. But yeah, that loop, and I almost ran out of water on that loop too, just because I was so tired. I was drinking a lot of water, and yeah, that was tough. As soon as I got to the top too, I remember thinking, you did this last week or the week before, and like you quit. So if you quit now, like it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Like you'd still have like 6 miles or 6.5 miles at the bottom. Like it's not that big of a deal. And as soon as I popped out to the aid station, like they were so nice that I was like, why would I quit? Like I still have like 7 hours to do this. Like I'm not going to quit. But I was like, when I was climbing, I was like, yeah, this sucks. Like this isn't fun. Like I don't want to do this. It's hard. But yeah, so I did the first loop, and I think it took me 2 hours and like 45 minutes or something for the first loop. We have our stats, but I don't know.
Yeah, we do have them. That was another cool thing, is at the end of the race, they printed out your stats for
because every time you
everything
booped
on these little receipts.
Yeah, so every time you booped it. So it took me an hour and 22 minutes to do the 2 miles of climbing, which is insane. And then it took me about 40 minutes to go the 3 miles downhill. So about 2 hours and, well, with the 18 miles in the beginning, or 18 minutes in the beginning for the mile. So yeah, so it was about 2 hours and 45 minutes or so.
So you had for cutoffs anyways, you could average, about 3 hours per loop.
And that was my goal. My goal was to finish the very first one in 2 hours, which I knew I probably wouldn't do. But I wanted to be able to knock out the first one relatively quick, because I knew that's when I was going to be freshest. And I knew the other two, well, I knew the 8.5 mile was definitely going to take me the longest because I'm a terrible climber. And so I was like, oh gosh, like which in hindsight, I probably should have done that yellow first, but I was super happy that I'd gotten the white out of the way. So, but yeah, so it took me 2 hours and 45 minutes for the white, like for everything with the white loop. So
yeah. And I like I said, I did the same thing where I chose the white first, mostly because I didn't want to deal with the congestion that may occur on the yellow. So I went white, and I actually, same kind of thing. I mean, I was maybe a mile into the white climb, and the only time I ever remember stopping during a race to take a break, like to take a breather, Bigfoot, 100K, whatever, 2-3 years ago, whenever that was, I guess 2 years ago. And then I don't know. I don't know if I've ever done it other than that. Like, yeah, normally when it's climbing, I'm just like, okay, slow and steady, and then bomb the down. That's usually my plan, is just like, yeah, like just kind of meander up this as slow as I need to. But yeah, I mean, like a mile into this stupid climb, I'm like getting dizzy and nauseous, and I'm like, shit, I don't want to throw up. Oh, Squamish. That's the other time, Squamish, which I DNF'd. So, yeah, that didn't bode. Actually, Yakima, the 50K.
Oh, yeah.
I did stop on that. So far, yeah, when I'm stopping, yeah, that leads to a DNF apparently. So yeah, I have stopped to take a breather a couple other times during a race, which has not boded well for my success within the race. And so, yeah, I was struggling on that white. It like chewed me up. And so I definitely was not feeling good. Like I actually sat on a log with my head in between my legs for like a minute, and I was just like, fuck, like how am I already like, bonking essentially at like mile 1 of this climb, when it's like, it's not even that bad. I mean, it's bad. It was definitely steep and hard, but I normally don't really care too much. I mean, I'm not running up that kind of incline for sure, but I can normally just hike it consistently. Something that's like 1,000 feet per mile. Like I've done it before basically, and it's not been an issue, but this was an issue. So yeah, that hurt me a bit. And yeah, my time up that was a lot slower than I wanted it to be. I think, well, I know how much it was. It was 58 minutes is how long it took me to get up. Which, yeah, I was hoping for something more like 40 minutes. I was thinking like 20-ish minutes per mile or so. Like, so yeah, like anywhere in between like 40, yeah, like 45 minutes is probably more what I was hoping for. And then, yeah, my descent was about 27 minutes. So I didn't run nearly as fast on the descent as I was hoping to either. But, it was early in the race, and yeah, I almost think that now looking back on it, I'm like, man, maybe I should have just did yellow first. Because after doing yellow, it's like there's definitely a lot of sections of that I could have ran if I was a bit fresher.
That's what I was
thinking.
That
I didn't run because the incline was just kind of moderate, and it's something that I would actually run up.
Yeah, I agree with that. When you were doing the white loop, I just thought of this as you were talking about it. Were you like, did you think like, damn, like Courtney is going to have a really hard time with this? Yeah,
that's why. So I texted Courtney when I got to the bottom, which I guess I got to the bottom right as you got to the top.
Yeah, my phone had died. Well, it didn't die. It kept like pushing weird buttons, so I didn't have my phone for like 2 or 3 hours of the race.
And so I was like, face your phone out.
Yeah, and I didn't do that. I didn't realize it until like maybe 9 o'clock. I don't really know what time I realized it, but anyways, I was like, uh-oh, like my phone doesn't work. And then I was like, crap, like what if he tried to write me, or like,
which
what
it
if
did. Yeah, I
something
mean,
happened?
I wrote her like words of encouragement. Because yeah, once I got to the bottom, I'm like, fuck, dude, Courtney is gonna struggle. Like this is gonna not be a good race for Courtney, especially after she just DNF'd last week, only 2 miles into like something that was, arguably easier than this. So,
I mean, looking back, it was definitely easier.
So yeah, I texted her. I'm just like, you got this, babe. Like, just keep grinding. Like, no worries. You got a lot of time. Just keep it up. But she didn't respond for a while.
And I don't even think I saw that until like 11 o'clock or like 10:30 or something.
It's like 4 or 5 hours into it.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh man. And in my head, I was kind of like, dang, I don't know if I do. Like, this is so hard. But yeah, so we both did the white first. And then I did the yellow. And so I went out, and everybody was saying, basically, I could hear people saying the pink was the easiest. Like I heard a lot of people
that was pretty
saying
much the words.
The pink was
everyone.
the easiest. And so I kind of was like, well, should I do the pink or should I just stick with the yellow? And so I was like, well, the yellow's the longest, and I know that if I can get the yellow out of the way, if the pink's the easiest, then it'll be easy for me at the end, kind of, is what I was thinking. And so I was like, well, I'll just stick with yellow. So I went on the yellow, and let me tell you right now, the yellow was the hardest.
Really?
Yes.
I thought yellow was the easiest.
No, I hated the yellow. The yellow was the app. That was the one.
It was long. Definitely
So
long.
the whole time on the yellow, I thought I was going to not make the cutoff. I hated every false ascend that happened. I hated all of the forest roads. It was just I was just in the worst mood when I started that one, and it did not help me. I bonked that whole entire loop, even the downhill. I walked basically the whole downhill. My legs hurt so fucking bad that it was just I was like, there's no way I can do this. I am done after this loop, and I'm happy to be done, is what I just kept thinking the whole time. Oh, it's fine. You'll have 15, 16 miles. You accomplish this. You'll have 5,000 feet of gain. You're good. You're it doesn't matter if you don't finish. You've already done enough for your body. But yeah, that whole loop, I remember the very beginning you were able to run, and I couldn't really run. I was running shittily. And there was a couple of ups that shouldn't have been hard. They shouldn't have been that crazy of a climb, but it's my legs hurt so bad from the white loop that it was just I couldn't climb them. I was just walking so slow, and I just kept looking down at my watch you better fucking move, because if you don't go faster, you're not going to make the cutoff. And then I just was it doesn't matter. It was just a game with me where it was go faster or drop. And I just kept telling myself it's easier to drop, just drop. It doesn't matter. And so what really sucked was I loved seeing him, but I was super upset because the whole time I was just it doesn't matter. You're just going to drop anyways. So who cares? But it's you don't want to drop a race. It sucks to be yeah, I can't do this. Or chasing cutoffs is the worst. And I at the first loop, I wasn't worried about that because I'd made it in my 3 hours, which was my goal. But for this, it took me 2 hours and 48 minutes to climb 5.5 miles. So it was I already was at the 3 hours, and I still had to do 3 miles downhill. And so it wasn't looking good. And at the very top, I remember I was probably I don't know, I'd say I was probably maybe a fifth of a mile, to the, I don't know. I was pretty close to the top, and I could see David's flannel, and I was oh, I see him at the top, but then it looked like he was going to leave. And I kept thinking wait, don't leave yet. Don't leave.
Yeah. Well, so time wise, this is a little tricky because I also did the yellow loop second. And like I said, I liked this loop, probably the best of the three. It was in my head. I was oh, this is the mellow yellow. It's the mellow yellow,
no.
but really, I mean, compared to most other races, you're still doing, it's 5.5 miles or whatever, but
it's
it is
3,000 feet of up and 5.5 miles. So it's not easy.
Yeah, it's
none of them
definitely
were
not
easy. And everybody's oh, this one's good. This one's good.
And it took a long time. I mean, it did take a long time. Even so for me, it took me an hour and a half to do 5.5 miles, which
is not a long time.
It is a long time. That's going pretty slow.
3,000 feet of gain, an hour and a half.
Yeah, but like I said, there's a lot of that yellow section that normally I would have ran. I mean, there was a lot of it that I wouldn't have ran anyways, but there was a lot that I would have probably ran normally. But the white had just sucked my soul out, and so I didn't run almost anything on yellow, and so I just looking back, it's easy to say, but yeah, there's definitely some time I could have made up for on yellow loop pretty easily, I think, if I would have ran that first. And it's probably a good warm up, really. Compared to the white or the pink, maybe even would be a better warm up, but it's just with white, you just get slammed straight uphill. Whereas with yellow, it's a gradual kind of it's a good warm up.
I think I needed to be slammed right uphill, right off the bat, though, because I think if I had done yellow first and then I had tried to do white, I would have been fucked. And then if I had pink was kind of the same, it would have been two huge ass climbs where I was fuck this, I'm done. So I think it was good that I got white out of the way because that was the hardest, to where I was kind of okay, you did white, you can do the others.
Yeah. When also what was cool on yellow is I ran into our single listener.
Oh, yeah.
I think his name is Josh Powell. And yeah, he said hi, and that was both cool and made me feel bad that he spent his time listening to these. So if you're listening to this, Josh, thanks. Good job finishing Tiger, and it was cool seeing you out there. And yeah, we appreciate the support.
I ran into Josh as well.
Which, yeah, I mean, it's funny because, there are a lot of different options to do this course. And, there's a ton of people I didn't run into that I knew ran it. So it was cool that we both got to run into one of the only people in the world that listen to this. So
yeah, it was pretty funny. I was running the downhill of Yellow, and I still had one loop left, and I'm sure he was probably already done. And I think we both kind of said good job to each other, and he looked back and he's like, "Hey, are you David's girlfriend?" And I was like, yeah. And he was like, "Oh, I watch your guys' podcast." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Thanks."
And what was funny is he asked me about you too. And he was just like, about the climbing or whatever. It's like, yeah, did she know that
Yeah,
this
I knew.
has that much climbing? Just like,
Yeah, I knew. I knew, Josh. I knew it was going to be fucking hard. And it was. It sucked.
yeah.
So yeah, Yellow. So at the top of
Well,
Yellow.
So hold on. So yeah, basically, so I do yellow and then I do pink. And for me, pink was like, I kind of fucked up because at the bottom of my yellow, when I finished the yellow loop, and so I'm down at the bottom aid station, I see this guy sitting in the shade and they had just put out cold Red Bulls.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, dude. So I grab a full Red Bull and I go sit in the shade next to this guy. And I'm like, yeah, what up, shade buddy? And I'm like, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. This is hard. Yada, yada. What loops have you done? The standard talk. And then my legs start cramping up because I'm sitting down and I'm like, shit, I got to get out of here. I can't be sitting because my legs are starting to cramp. Because at this point, I think it was 15 miles or whatever with 5,000 feet of climbing. And my quads are seizing up and I'm just like, oh God, no, I don't want to do this before a climb. And so I just book it out of there. And I mean, I didn't book it. I spent almost 8 minutes at that aid station apparently. So I did sit in the shade for a little bit before the cramps came. And it sucked because then I was just working out those cramps on the pink loop for probably a mile. It took about a mile before the cramps kind of faded away and my legs started to feel normal again. But it's scary. When you're cramping up, it just feels like the end of the world because it's man, this is the only way I can move is moving these legs. And if they don't work, then I don't work. And so that was scary. And I just kind of took it easy on the pink loop because obviously, I wasn't doing my kind of pseudo goal that I had mid race. Once I saw how I was doing, I was like, I'd like to get under 6 hours at this point. And so that was kind of my goal at the time. And when I started that pink loop, I knew I had a ton of time to do it. So I was like, I can chill it, take it easy, just try not to cramp was my main goal on that loop itself. And so that's pretty much what I did is I just took that loop easy. There was 2 girls that I was next to that I was running with for the most part. Well, I was walking with. I wouldn't even call what I did power hiking for the most part that day. It was mostly just walking in the woods. So, but that being said, the pink loop was deceptive, dude. It was not easy. Because everyone was saying it was easy.
It was not easy.
But the last mile or whatever was fucking hard. That, it just felt like it didn't end. It was super annoying. It was just this steep, maybe it was because I was so far removed from the white. But I don't know, man. I thought that the end of the pink was harder than any part of the white. So, yeah, I don't know. If I had to do it again, I think I probably would have done yellow, pink, white, maybe even. I don't know.
I would not have done that.
But either way, so anyways, I get to the top of pink, and that's where I meet Courtney. So I'm on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on the end, I'm basically done.
Yeah.
I'm at the top of pink, and I'm about to run down to the finish. And this is when I'm up there, and I'm just about to leave too.
I kept seeing him walk, and I was like, oh, man, he's not going to be there when I get up there.
The only reason I
wanted to
stayed...
be David! But then I was like, no, why? He's not going to hear me. And
it was funny, because the only reason I stayed up there is somebody was talking about Go Beyond, which is another race company, or they put on races, and they were talking about bees attacking people at the volcanic 50K or something. And I was like, oh, dude, funny story. I did mountain lakes last year and I got slammed by bees at like mile 13, and that was to go beyond racing. So we were talking about that. And then while we were talking, I see this person like struggling to come up the last like little bit of
And
the
some
yellow
people
loop.
were like clapping, and I was like, ugh.
Oh yeah, there were cheers coming. And they were probably thinking you were on your last lap or something too.
Ugh.
And that's when I see Courtney, and then it's just like she like starts meandering over to me and then just starts bawling.
I did. I grabbed him and I just like instantly just like fell into him crying, because I was just like, at that point in my head, I was done. And I was like, this is so stupid. Like, I'm already so close to the cutoff. My legs hurt so bad. And I think,
to be fair, she wasn't so close to the cutoff. You had 3 hours.
he says I had 3 hours,
You had
but
over 3 hours.
not when I went back out. I didn't. When I
I'm
went
saying
back
at the
out,
top, though, you had it over 3 hours.
yes, but what you don't understand is my legs hurt so bad.
Everyone's legs hurt.
And also, I don't climb fast. And so I knew 3 hours was not going to get me done with 6 miles, like of 2,500 feet of gain. Like in my head, I was calculating it and I was like, I cannot do this. And my legs hurt so bad. And then I was just crying to him and I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, I'm just done. Like, I'm just going to drop at the bottom. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, you have enough time. Like, you can do this. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I can't do this. And I was like, my body hurts so bad. And he's like, okay, well, I got to go. Like, good luck. And I was like, fuck, like, I can't do this. And so taking like the aid from that aid station, I was kind of like, all right, this is my last aid station. Like, I'm done. And so I went down to the bottom. And like I said, I walked a good majority of that downhill. I mean, I ran some of it, but I walked a lot of it. And my legs were just like cramping so bad. I could feel them like shaking. My quads were like fucked. And I get to the aid station and nobody says anything to me. Like, nobody says a word. And so then I'm just like, damn, like.
So this is the bottom of your second leg.
Yes. And so then I'm like about to cry again. And so I call David and I'm like looking through the drop bag and I call him and I'm like, okay, I'm done. And he's like, are you serious? Like, are you really done? And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And he's like, are you going to be happy if you quit? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm done. Like, I don't care. I'm not doing this. I'm done. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't. And I'm like rude on the phone. Like, I'm like, basically, like, you're not encouraging me. Like, I can't do this. It's hard. You don't understand like how hard it is. Like, you're not me. Like, it's hard. And he's like, yeah, I know it's hard. And so I'm like, whatever, like, I'm going to go. Like, and I just hung up the phone and I think he might've said like, good luck, like, good job, you're doing great. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then so I hang up and they still don't really say anything to me at the aid station. And I'm like crying, just like standing there crying. And so then I think I had like a salt pill. And then I like grabbed one of the Spring Energies to take along the way. And I had my water filled up. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. And by the time I left, I had 2 hours and like 47 minutes or something like that. And so I was like, well, great. Like, you were supposed to give yourself 3 hours for every loop and you only have you don't have 3 hours. And so I already was kind of like, I'm not like, I won't finish this, but I guess I should try. And so I go back out and I'm like super negative. And I get a mile or so, like maybe not even a mile. Like I get like,
well, I mean, hold on. Let's do this somewhat chronologically because at this time I'd already finished.
Yeah.
So after seeing Courtney up at the top while she was bawling her eyes out to me, and at this point I'm like stoked because I'm like, yeah, sucks for her, but I'm about to be done. So,
and also
yeah.
Rewind really quick. As I'm coming down, everybody's done. Like every single person that's passing me is like, you only got a few more miles. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I have a whole nother loop. And they're like, oh, sorry. Like, everybody's done. And so I'm like, I fucking hate this. Like, so I just was like really negative just because I was like, this is fucking hard. Like, everybody's done. I know I'm not going to finish in time and I'm like dead last. Like, all these people are passing me and they're done. And I still have 3 hours left. So that's where I was at.
Yeah. And I was one of those people that was like, hell yeah, dude, I'm done. And so I just pretty much, actually, that was the slowest I ran. The descent was the last one. It took me, 32 minutes to get to the bottom. And the other 2 times I was under 30. So But I took it kind of easy. I walked a couple times because at that point I was starting to cramp on the downhill too. One of my calves was cramping a little. So, yeah, just kind of chilled it down. Had a good time. Got to the bottom. And, yeah, I got to high five Ethan and maybe Kim too, I think. I don't remember exactly, but they were both down there. I got my medal and, I grabbed a Red Bull and a Coke. So a lot of caffeine that day. And, yeah, I mean, I was just happy to be done. I was like, whew, man, my legs hurt. I am so happy to be done. So I went to the car, got changed. And then right as I was getting changed is when Courtney called me the first time when she was at the bottom. And she's just like, yeah, saying how she can't do this. And at that time, she still had like plenty of time.
He kept saying I had 3 hours, but I didn't have 3 hours because when I came
No,
into
not
the
at that
bottom of the
time.
aid station,
It was like 12:20
but
when
you
you called
said on
me.
the phone, you said you have 3 hours. And I was
I
like,
said basically like
I said
3
I
hours.
don't, because when I came in, the cutoff was 12:30, and I came in at 12:17, and I spent 8 minutes there. So by the time I went out, it really was only like 2.5 hours that I had.
Yeah.
And so then I start my pink loop, which was the last loop, which everybody said was the easiest. And so I'm already like super negative, and I've been negative for quite a while. Like, I mean, there was like spots where I was positive, and it was like cool to talk to other runners and stuff like when I passed them. So it was like those like moments made me happy, but I was just like so in my head because I hate chasing cutoffs. It's just stressful. And so I was like super stressed out. Like, this is so hard, and I don't think my body is going to be able to like hold up for these last like 3 miles uphill basically. And so I started out, and I think I get like, I'm not even a mile up. Like, I think I'm like maybe like a quarter of a mile or like a half mile up of the climb part. And I call David, and I'm just like, you know what? Like, fuck this. And he's like, and I was like, I'm done. I'm just like, I can't do this. And I turn around and I start walking down, and I'm on the phone with him, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're not going to walk down. And so then I turned back around and I started walking up again, and he's like, Court, like, you have time. And I was like, I don't have time. And I'm like sobbing. Like, I just want to be done. Like, it hurts so bad. And he's like, I get it. Like, I know. And I was so mean. Like, I was just like, you don't get it. Like, you don't care. Like, I'm done. I can't do this. Like, you don't even care about me. And he was like, I do care, but like, are you going to be happy if you don't do this? And I was like, yes, I'm going to be happy. My body hurts when I'm done, and I don't care.
Well, the question was, are you going to feel good tomorrow about your decision that you're making right now? Like, are you going to be able to live with yourself, you know, especially because this would have been 2 races in a row that you've DNF'd, even though you've never DNF'd a race before that. So I know mentally that could take a toll on you.
Yeah.
And I didn't want you to be, you know, today to be in a really shitty mood because you made poor decisions while you were hangry, and yeah.
And I also, kudos to Josh. When he passed me, I was like, well, shit, someone listens to this, so I have to try to finish, because I'm going to look like a real piece of shit if I'm like, yeah, I didn't finish my last race, and I didn't finish this one either. So that was a little bit of a motivator. And then what's another thing that really motivated me, or like tried to help motivate me, was, I don't think we talked about this, but like kind of off topic, everybody that started this race, if you finished the race, you got your name on the
oh yeah, so they had like this starting kind of like arch almost that said Tiger Claw, like at the start and finish, this custom made, it looked like they had the logo. It was probably done by the same people, maybe, I don't know, shouldn't say that, but anyways, it looked a lot like the race medal. It was just hung up on a big plaque kind of thing. I'm describing this super poorly, but anyways, yeah, it's just kind of like the overhang to the start and finish. And anyways, yeah, they said that anyone who finishes just this one, the inaugural event, if you finish this, you get your name on it, and it'll be there forever.
Yeah.
And those are the only people that will ever have their names on it, is the first finishers. So
yeah. And so when I went on that pink loop, I just kept thinking like, all right, you're already on the 3rd loop. Like, you have to finish this. Like, why would you turn around now? You're on the 3rd loop. And I had like 2.5 hours. And so I was like, you can do it. Like, just stop walking so slowly, or like, And so then I was on the phone with David and I was like, I have to go. Like, if I don't go, like, I'm just going to go slower. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, good luck, like, I'll see you at the finish. And I was like, well, I'm not going to make it to the finish. And if I make it, like, I'm going to be like cut off and it's not going to matter anyways. And he was just like, okay, like, I'll see you at the finish. And so he's like, good luck. Like, I love you. And so I get off the phone and I'm just like fired up. I'm like happy to be on my third loop, but I'm also just like in a bad mood. And so I start climbing and it's not like crazy climbs. And then he did tell me there was a flat and I was like, I don't see any flat. And so I get off the phone with him and probably like a half mile more, there was a flat area. And so I ran that whole area because I kept looking down at my watch like, you have to be 30 minutes per mile because if you're not, you won't finish. Because I knew I had 3 miles. And so I was like, if I don't...
you had to be at the top aid station by 2 o'clock.
Yeah, and they said if you weren't, you were kind of like cut off. And so... and I hadn't missed any cutoffs yet. So I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I just have to make 30 minutes per mile for every mile. And so my first mile, I think I was at 30 minutes or like a little bit under because there's a couple of spots where I could run a little bit. And I'm a terrible climber, which everybody knows who listens. And so I did not make any time up when I was climbing. There was a couple of downs. I ran a couple of those. There's a couple of flats. I ran some of those. And then he told me on the phone too, if you can get to the end, the hardest part is like 0.7 miles from the top. If you can do that, you'll be fine. Well, then there was some hikers like on the trail who I thought were hikers. They weren't hikers. They were sweepers, but I thought they were hikers. And I could kind of hear them talking I could hear them talking for a while. And they would like kind of stop and then they would like talk and I could hear them. And it was like a lot of switchbacks. And so I could see them like standing and talking. And I'm just like, oh, like these guys, it's kind of weird that they keep stopping, but like maybe they're just trying to like give me space. And then finally, I think I'm like a mile or so from the top. Well, what seemed like a mile from the top. And I'm on the hardest climb. Like I'm on that 0.75 miles to the top. But I'm thinking my watch is like back a little bit. It was a little messed up. And so David said, yeah, at the top, you'll get to the top at like 18.1 miles. Well, at this moment, I'm at like 17 miles or like just about 17 miles. And so I'm like, I have a mile to the top. I don't have time. And these people come up to me and they're like, oh, hey, how you doing?
And my watch, so that last bit up to the top, those last like 0.75 of a mile, each quarter mile is like 350 feet of climbing, to put that into perspective.
Oh, yeah. It was it's fucking
very
rough.
Steep. It's a difficult section for sure.
And so I'm breathing hard. I'm walking real slow. And so they come up to me because obviously I'm walking really slow and I still don't know their pacer or their sweepers. And so I'm just like walking slow and they come up behind and they're like, how you doing? And I'm like, walking slowly. And they're like, are you doing okay? Like, do you need anything? And I'm like, yeah, like I mean, like some water would be nice, but it's fine. And then one of the guys is like, oh, well, I have a gel. Like, I'll hand you this. You can eat this and keep going faster. And then I'm like, oh, great. Like, these are not just hikers. Like, this is the sweepers. And they're like, you want company? And at the time, I'm like, heck yeah, I want company. Like, I want someone to talk to me so that I'm not focused on this damn climb. But the problem was they were so focused on me getting to the top that they were, like, pushing me, like, in a not nice way. Like, I don't know. Like, it just, like, was... not what I wanted.
They were giving you tough love and you didn't want that?
No. Yeah, they kept like trying to tell me how to breathe and like that I wasn't climbing the hills right. And like, it's probably things that you shouldn't say to somebody when they're already having a fucking hard time and they already have climbed like over 6,500 feet and they're in the fucking hardest climb part. Like, I mean, it would have been nice if they just said like, you're doing good, like keep going. But I didn't really get that from them. I just got like, yeah, you're moving real slow. Like you should probably pick it up or else you're not going to make the cutoff, which I knew. Like I looked at my watch like every like 5 minutes and I knew that. And so then they kept saying, at one point they said like, you're a half mile away. And I was like, yeah, right. And they were like, no, you really are. Like you're a half mile away from the top. And I was like, I don't think you're right. Cause obviously I didn't know my watch was off, but my watch was off. And, yeah, they said, yeah, you have 4 minutes. Like, yeah, 4 minutes till the cutoff, so you can do this. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, right. I'm not going to be able to do this in 4 minutes because I couldn't see the top anywhere. Like, I could see trails, but I could not see the top. And so I'm just, like, moving as slow as I can. I mean, at this point, their, like, talking is just making me, like, want to move slower, which was not good. So yeah, it was a bummer. Like, then I think one of the guys started talking about like how like this girl like didn't finish a race. And it was like, I don't want to hear that right now. Like talking about like how she kept throwing up on the trails and like she just wasn't doing good. And I was like, damn, like this sucks. Like these are not the kind of conversations that are helping me move forward. Like, so I'm like really close to the top. Like I can see the top at this point. And the guy's like, all right, like you can do this, you know, like you can do this. You just need to run. And he's like, so when you get to the aid station, all you need to do is take 2 gels with you and get water. 2 gels and water, like nothing else. Like be as fast as you can, 2 gels and water. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm gonna sit there. Like I don't care. Like I'm just gonna hang out, and then I'm just gonna like do what I want and try to finish. And at this point, I know, like in my head, I'm like, you're not finishing. Like you've already I missed the time cutoff. Like I wasn't there at 2:00. So I had missed that already.
Yeah, it looks like you got there like a couple minutes after 2.
Yeah. And so I missed the 2:00 time cutoff. I think I got there at like maybe like 2:08 or like 2:10 or something. I don't really remember. I guess, yeah, 2:08 or 2:09, whatever. Anyways, and so when I get there, they're all like, the aid station is wonderful. Like they were so helpful. Like the top aid station, they were so nice to me. Every time I came up, they were like, you got this, girl, like keep doing it. Like you can do this, every single time. And so when I came up, they said, we've been waiting for you, Courtney. And so I was like, fuck, like I'm dead last. I'm the only one on the trails. The sweepers are like right there. And so I was like, well, this sucks. And the lady goes, okay, you want us to get you a car? Like you want to get picked up now? And I was like, wait, what? Like I can't run. Like I can't finish. Like I'm not able to run down the hill. And she was like, yeah, you can go. You can run down the hill. Like, can you make it? And I was like, yeah. Like, I think so. Like, I'm pretty sure. Like, I think I can go and like finish. And she's like, yeah, like, let's get you water. Cause I think at that point they thought like, yeah, she's fucking done. Like, she's not finishing this. Like, her spirits aren't in it. Like, she's just ready to give up. Cause I did look like that. But I was like, yeah, like, I'll just take water and, you know, like, whatever else you want to give me. And she was like, all right, here's some water. And then another lady was like, do you want Coke? And I was like, yeah, I'll have some Coke. And so I think I drank like a half a Coke. Like, they poured it in a Dixie cup, but it was like very well full. And I drank that like very fast, which probably wasn't good. I had a couple of burps on the way down, which I thought I was going to throw up. But so I had that, and they were so nice. And so I was like, okay, you can finish this, you can do this. And then when I was running out, the guy that was like helping me was like, you have to run. Like, you have to run. And I'm like, I know. And so I get down, and that whole down section, it's like gradually, it's not like any like crazy downs. Like, you can run the whole thing, you know, if you're capable. But I mean, I didn't feel capable, but I was like, you're not, like, it doesn't matter what happens, you're not stopping. Like, you just walked that whole up, like, run as fast as you can on the down and you'll make it. And so I think I had 50 minutes or like 51 minutes. I don't really remember. But I was like pretty close. Like, it would have been cutting it close because my legs were just jello. And so I was like, okay, you can do this. You can do this. You can run. Basically, you can run 20 minutes per mile. Like, you can do that and you'll be just fine. And so
And it was pretty much all downhill.
there was a little bit of up, but I mean, like, I had done so much up that it was like that up was like nothing compared to what I had done. And so that wasn't like a huge deal. And so I ran for what I could. I walked up the ups, and then I ran all the rest of the down. And I just kept telling myself, like, don't stop. Like, you're going to be fine. And then I told myself, when you see the like path, basically there was just like this little path that like led into either the finish or the aid station. And so I was like, okay, when you see that path, like, you know, you're there. And so like, look at your watch and see what you have for time. And then you'll know like whether you're going to finish or not. It's like kind of how I was like gauging it. Cause I think it was like a quarter of a mile to the finish where that path was. And I think it actually was less than that with the finish, but I'm not entirely sure. But anyways, so I kept looking at my watch, and I was like, oh man, like, I don't know, like, you're pretty close. I don't see the path yet. Like, because at the time I was like, well, you have like 10 or 15 minutes, like, you're cutting it pretty close. And so finally I get to this spot where I know that there was a photographer that took a picture of me, and I'm like, okay, like that was pretty close to that aid station. So you're getting there. Like, just keep running. Don't stop. But in my head, I was like, this fucking running hurts. Like my whole body hurts so bad. But I was like, if you want to finish, you can't stop. Like, do not stop running. And so I got to that like section where it was like a little path, and I hear somebody like, yeah, good job. Like, you're doing great. And I'm just like, yeah, right. And I look, and I was like, thanks. And I look up, and it's Kim, and I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, oh, hi. Like, yeah, like, I'm going to finish. And she's like, yeah, you'll finish. And then I get to like the finish, like, I guess like going to the finish, but all I see is like these little flags, and I'm like, shit, like, how long is this? Like, do I have to run a lot more? Because you can't see the finish like from the spot that says finish. And so I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, I calculated this, but like, if it's not right, I'm not going to finish on time. Because at this point, I think I had 8 minutes till the finish, like till I was cut off. And so I was like, oh man, like, this sucks. Like, I'm super tired. I just want to stop, but like, I can't. And then I just see the finish, and I see Ethan standing there, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like, I finished on time. Like, I did it. And so I'm just like running in like, yeah, I did it. And then I didn't even notice David at first, because I was so focused on like finishing and like being able to do it. And so, yeah, I finished with 7 minutes and like 28 seconds left, which was insane. And then I got to hug Ethan, which was great. And yeah, and then David was there. He took a video of me finishing.
Yeah. And I mean, what was very cool is because Courtney was DFL, she was the event's Tiger Tail.
Yeah.
Which she got a bunch of prizes for.
Yeah.
So she got coffee, a free pair of La Sportiva shoes, and a $50
gift card or
$50
cash
basically.
yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was super generous of them. He was like, I was about to leave, and they were just like asking, you know, like, what'd you think of the race? Like, how was it? And I was like, yeah, it was fucking hard, but you know, like, it was good. Like, it was fun. Cause it was really fun. I mean, it was fun, like, looking back on it now, like, in the moments, like, yeah, it wasn't fun, but it was like, to say that you can do that, or like that you're capable of that, is so rewarding. And the race itself was just structured so well that it was cool. It was cool to be able to just like do these crazy loops that are like insane amount of elevation, and then you're like, you get to the bottom and you're like, well, I got to do 2 more. Like, I've got to do this again and again. And it's just crazy because you get in these like moments in your head where you're like, how in the fuck am I going to do this? But then it's like, you do it and you're like, how did I do that? Like, if I could do that, like, I can do this next one. And
yeah.
so, yeah. So that was cool. So then I finished, and we talked for a little bit, and then I was about to leave, and he's like, oh, wait, here, this is for you. And I was like, what? Like, I do not deserve anything. Like, I literally came in last place and made you guys wait all day for me. So that was really cool. And they're so nice, Ethan and Kim, like the nicest people. They are so genuine, like make you feel like family right off the bat. They were wonderful. That was the best race I've ever done. Not because of the prizes at all. Like, it was just the challenge of it, and like finishing and just feeling like that accomplishment, and just like the volunteers, just everything about it was so good.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, you know, in closing for this episode, really it's like, the vibe, like the vibe of the race was unlike any other I've been a part of. It really like did that. Set like a new standard for trail running in the Pacific Northwest, at least. I don't know if I have never done a race that felt like this. I'll say that. I
agree. It like was so wonderful. The quality,
top notch, and just the way it felt. I mean, it's very rare for me to go to a trail race and I don't know, feel that. I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, it was a very welcoming environment and stuff. And I mean, it just felt like everyone, I mean, I know last week I just was like giving a talk about, you know, pseudo positivity and shit. But I mean, the positivity and like the actual vibe of the race did feel just overall just super positive, and everyone seemed to be having a really good time. And I think, you know, like I said at the beginning of this episode, it could have went either way.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like Kim and Ethan could have totally just used their, you know, again, like quote unquote celebrity status within our community to make money easily. They could put on a shitty ass race that they charged $200 for, and it probably still would have sold out. But they went a totally different direction, made it super affordable. Well, relatively speaking, and then put on just the best event that I've ever seen. So it's like, I don't know. It's that kind of stuff that makes me happy to be a part of the community at times. It gives me hope in some sense. Like, it's like, okay, here's people that are looked up to within the running community, and, they've already done a bunch, obviously, for making our sport grow and making it kind of shaping the culture. And things like this just kind of keep it on track and like make it, so I hope other people take note really of like how they put on this event and how it was organized and how well I assume it's going to be received. I mean, it just happened yesterday, so I don't know what all is going to happen in the future, but from my perspective, like there's very little that could have been done to make this better. And they just thought of so many things that I wouldn't have thought of, or that I've ever seen anyone else think of, that made it a special race. And the fact that, they were out there
all day,
giving high fives, giving hugs the whole time.
Yeah.
And just their presence alone, I'm sure a ton of people signed up for this because, because
like I
of
never
who they
thought,
are.
like I never thought I was going to hug Ethan. I never thought I was going to like say anything to Kim. Like I never thought there would be like that connection. Like I just thought, oh yeah, like they're doing this race. Like maybe I'll see him once or twice. I'll like say hi or like wave. But I mean, at the finish, like how, like the feeling that you get is just like so rewarding. And then just seeing Kim out there like cheering me on, like so rewarding. And then even just like the volunteers at the top, they don't know me. Like they don't know me at all. But every one of them was like, you can do this. Like you got it. And then at the end, they posted a picture on their
Run Tiger Claw?
Yeah, Run Tiger Claw.
On the Instagram?
On Instagram. And everybody like from the top 8 station was just like, I'm so happy she like finished. Like we were all rooting for her. Like she was doing so good. Like it just makes me so happy to see that she finished. And that's like so cool to just have somebody be like cheering for you who has no idea who you are. It just is a good feeling. So it was awesome. It was the coolest race.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like I would wager to bet, a good chunk of the people that signed up for this race probably, they probably owe or would, attribute their getting into trail running, from the Ginger Runner videos.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I mean, I know one of the first videos that you watched that you really got into was Kim and the, what is that race called? The beaches, the beach race, one, Oregon Coast. Yeah. The 50K or whatever.
Yeah. Because
where she's like chasing cutoffs the whole time. And I mean, yeah, like,
and then Kim told David that, basically she feels for me because she's been there. And
oh yeah. While Courtney was struggling through all that, I wasn't just sitting in the car. I was actually at the finish line and I was talking to Kim and Ethan both. I'm like, yeah, can you check on my runner? Can you see if she's close or whatever? And, Kim instantly just like texted the top to see how she was doing and stuff, and got a response pretty quick. And so, yeah, everyone was rooting for the old tiger tail.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of fun. And overall, like that'll be like one of the best memories I have from trails. Just the way that it felt. I mean, not just finishing, but just like the whole community of this race. It was so fun. Yeah.
I mean, I hope it becomes a good yearly event. I hope they put on more races, honestly. I mean,
I agree.
I hope they can, at least put on a couple a year because it was done so well.
Yeah.
Like, it was just such a fun experience. They thought of everything. And yeah, like I
wouldn't change
don't
anything.
have much more to say about it. It's just like, it was awesome.
And I would recommend this to anybody. Like I'm telling you, I am a terrible climber. I haven't ran, like really ran in over like, I don't know, 2 months, and I did it. Like I was able to finish. Like you guys, like anybody could do it. I mean, you have to really want it, and it's definitely hard, but you can do it. Like it's not impossible at all. I mean, I walked so much of that and I still finished.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the best advice to tell people who have not ran to go do this, but I would not call it an entry level race.
It's not at all an entry level race. I'm just saying, like, I am not a great runner by any means, and I'm definitely not good at climbing hills. And so if the elevation scares you off, but you've been training, I wouldn't not do it. Like I would sign up, and like, train for it.
Next year is going to be hard to get into. Would be my prediction is next year is going to be packed. Like it's probably going to sell out. I would assume,
especially because of how many people have been just like,
oh yeah, it's been all over social media and stuff. So So yeah, in closing, I'll just say, Kim and Ethan did an excellent job. I think they are.
I love Kim and Ethan.
Yeah, they're doing great work. So I hope they keep it up. I hope they, expand on what they've created here, because it's really cool. And yeah.
And it was nice to meet you, Josh.
Yep. Thanks, Josh. That was also a special moment of the race. And so
all in all, this race was really great.
Yeah. So next week, well, for me,
for you.
In less than a week, Sun Mountain 50 miler. It'll be my first 50 miler, assuming I complete it. I haven't ever ran just a 50. I've done a 100K and a 100 miler, but not a straight up 50 miler. If you don't count Squamish, because I didn't actually finish that. So yeah, that'll be, oh God, I don't know how I feel about that, but I actually don't feel too bad today in terms of soreness. So
I am so sore.
I'll probably run tomorrow. I might bike today or something, but yeah, so hopefully next week goes good. Sound Mountain 50 miler. If anyone's listening to this, that'll be out there, say hi. And yeah, good luck to anyone else that's doing it.
Yeah.
Might be a little hot apparently. So
yeah, it's looking pretty hot.
That's pretty much it. You got anything else to add, or are you done?
I'm done.
All right, well.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Probably next
time.
week.
Who knows? Whenever the next episode goes up.
All right, bye, guys.
Thanks. See you later.